Hi, I'm Danny Boyd, and this is CinemaStix, a celebration of film and film form.
Everything we do, every sound we put in the movie really has to follow those rules, follow that logic.
So there are certain genres, supernatural horror, fantasy,
Science fiction,
whose stories have certain rules.
the swish and flick.
Fundamental truths that exist outside the confines of our own
When
world.
this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
And films in those genres often have to establish their rules fairly early on.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today.
For a film like A Quiet Place, though, those rules are a bit unique. They're the rules of sound.
The sonic rules.
And director John Krasinski really manages to set up those rules in just, the first 10 minutes of the film?
Less, actually.
As we're about to see. But best of all, he does it all without a hint of audible dialogue. All through image, sign language, and atmospheric sound design. Which meant for Krasinski's sound engineers, Erik Aadahl and Ethan Van der Rijn, well...
Right off the bat, we thought, well, this is a sound designer's dream.
Totally.
You know, for us, it was about really stripping everything out and building up what we needed.
So starting at zero and adding each piece of sound design in as necessary.
Which is sometimes kind of the opposite of what happens when you're putting the sound together for a movie.
The effect of this approach is that it makes small sounds really important, and loud sounds, when they do come in,
That's kind of shocking.
but it also means that when you're watching A Quiet Place, the sound of a candy wrapper or
Crunching on popcorn.
won't get masked by the movie. So as an audience, we become aware not only of the sound in the film, but the sound of our own environment, just like the characters.
So it becomes very sort of participatory in a way.
And it's this idea of sonic contrast that really takes us right into the first sonic rule of A Quiet Place.
Rule number one.
And that rule is
A louder sound will mask a smaller sound.
an idea Krasinski sets up beautifully in the very first shots of the movie.
Right, well, before we get into the pharmacy,
And that's where our heroes are.
we establish the exterior of this abandoned town.
We get these really loud, really windy shots outside, which is crucial because when paired with the quiet interior shots that immediately follow, we can accept logically that anything happening inside the pharmacy will be masked to some extent by the noise taking place outside.
Why does that matter?
Within the story, this is important because it grants the family some flexibility to explore the pharmacy safely and look for medicine for their older son,
Who is sick?
which means we can have the pit-pat of footsteps, the clicking of pill bottles, or, when the youngest son sees a toy rocket ship up on a shelf but knocks it down, the daughter can swoop in to catch it.
But she can't catch it loudly.
Right, she has to catch it quietly. And that brings us right into rule number 2,
Number 2.
and the whole premise of the film.
That silence is critical for survival.
Now, why that is?
We don't know yet.
But we do know that it matters because of the way the scene continues to build tension by reinforcing this second rule. Because as an audience, if we're watching A Quiet Place for the first time, then we're probably asking, why?
Why?
Why does this family have to stay quiet, but not hidden? Why does the music swell with so much anxiety when the youngest son approaches the family with his toy rocket ship? What exactly are the consequences of that Krasinski should be orchestrating this moment to play out with the same tension and stillness of a soldier disarming a bomb? We don't know, but when the family leaves and the boy grabs the batteries from the counter, we can basically assume the worst.
This is Chekhov's gun.
Pretty much, yeah. And so on their walk home, as the family treads delicately along this sand trail, there to mask the sound of snapping twigs or dry leaves, we're just waiting for something awful to happen. And this is the brilliant irony of A Quiet Place, that sound and the threat of sound become really
the key sort of driver of the narrative.
And when the rules of survival get broken,
It's bad.
it's bad. Which brings us right into the final rule.
The third rule.
The third sonic rule. What happens if you're not quiet? The noise from that rocket ship,
being high frequency,
is particularly piercing against the rest of the film's ambient soundscape. There is no other sound around loud enough to mask it. And it's here where A Quiet Place, after building it up and instituting its logic,
the logic of this film,
gets to concretely demonstrate what is really the whole conceit of the movie, the most important rule, not only for the characters to follow, but also for the directors and sound designers, that any single sound
that stands out from its background
is gonna be dead. But all that being said,
setting those rules up and then being able to stick to them,
that's the real challenge, right?
yeah, and then we just sort
The
of,
sound team had to consider every little thing that a family in this position would think to do. Some things we notice, others are a bit more subtle.
there's no doors being opened or closed in this entire movie.
There's also no single cricket calls in the film either, only cricket beds, because of course any single animal making noise would be
Dead.
dead. But again, for Aadahl and Van der Rijn,
This is the sound designer's dream.
this is a sound designer's dream. I'm Danny Boyd. Thank you so much for watching.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Look, stop. You're going to take someone's eye out. Besides, you're saying it wrong.
Leviosa.
Well done, dear.
Wingardium.